Hi Pisces, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I'm doing your general messages for the week ahead and I've already pulled the oracle cards, so we'll get straight into it. First one you got is yin, but it came out in the reverse. So it could be that like maybe lately you've been trying to kind of like force outcomes instead of just allowing things to unfold naturally. Maybe ignoring your intuition because, I don't know, you're either overthinking or maybe just looking for some sort of external validation. You could also just be feeling like emotionally drained from just giving too much without receiving in return. And just like struggling to kind of like surrender control, especially where if there's patience required in a situation. So it's just a kind of reminder that, like not everything needs to be chased, and that sometimes, the greatest progress comes from trusting your inner guidance and allowing things to flow instead of trying to control the outcome. Then we do have the full moon in Scorpio, and it says it's time to release negativity. So this is kind of maybe if there's like old hurts that you're still carrying, or maybe, I don't know, fear or jealousy or guilt or resentment or something like that, is kind of like weighing on your energy at the moment. And maybe there's a need to kind of forgive something or someone, even yourself. So Scorpio energy is very transformative. So if you release these emotions, it can definitely create space for some sort of healing or renewal. And then we have wasp spirit, and it says sometimes life stings. And basically it's about, I can see that you've been, I don't know, through some sort of either pain or a major disappointment. And, those experiences might have left like a mark on you, and maybe you feel branded in a way, but also that there's some sort of wisdom that came with it too. So try and not focus on the actual sting itself, and try to kind of see what you've learned and how much you've grown because of it. And as much as we all hate pain, it's definitely the biggest teacher, and it doesn't have to become your identity. Like, you can move past this and move through it and release it, and release. I feel like the whole message here is to release any sort of control, get back into the receiving mode, and then into your feminine energy, whether you're a man or woman, it's just feminine energy, and try to release any sort of hurt and pain, and to try bring in some sort of forgiveness. So I'm going to get some tarot for you, Pisces, but I'm doing things a little bit differently, where I'm going to pull all the cards, and then from there I will speak. So if you want to skip this part, you absolutely can. So we have the Knight of Cups, we have Strength, that's Leo energy, we have the Five of Wands, we have the Three of Pentacles in the reverse, we have the Moon, that's your energy, Pisces. Okay, we have the Death card in the reverse, that's Scorpio energy, very similar to that card. And lastly, we have the Page of Pentacles. Just going to get your clarifiers. Okay, for Pisces. Okay, what is the Knight of Cups? We have the Queen of Swords in the reverse. Okay, what is Strength? We have the Ten of Wands. Okay, what is the Five? Okay, these cards are just flying out. Justice, that's Libra energy. Okay, what is the Three of Pentacles? We have the Lovers. Okay, what is the Moon? We have the Empress in the reverse. That's very similar to the Yin in reverse. Okay, what's the Death card? We have the Ace of Cups. And what is the Page of Pentacles? We have the King of Swords. Okay. We have the Knight of Cups here, clarified by the Queen of Swords in the reverse. And this is your overall energy for the week. So there seems to be some sort of like emotional movement here. There could be like an invitation There could be a heartfelt conversation. The Knight of Cups is usually about, you know, someone bringing messages, or even just creative inspiration, or maybe even romance, or just following your heart. But with the Queen of Swords in the reverse, there's kind of like a warning that maybe your emotions are like clouded by, I guess, either poor communication or misunderstandings, or someone like speaking from hurt rather than wisdom. So it could just represent someone who's emotionally unavailable right now, or kind of just struggling to express themselves honestly, and that could be you, or another person. And it doesn't have to be your person, it could be even a friend, a colleague, you know, whatever. You take what resonates in your situation. And it just, like, you know, could be just, I don't know, discouraging you at the moment. And maybe someone's very guarded or cynical, you know. So there's definitely some like need to protect yourself there, or feeling that you need to protect yourself. Then we have Strength and the Ten of Wands, and these are things that you don't see coming. So there's something that you've been kind of carrying for a long time, and it's like coming to the end of it. Maybe you just, you know, not realizing how resilient you actually are, or how you've become through whatever challenges and this hurt that you've gone through. But it's not another burden that's coming in. It's kind of that you're actually seeing how strong you are, and that you're a lot stronger than what you thought. And this is also just, you know, telling you that you need to kind of stop carrying some sort of responsibilities that don't belong to you, you know. Basically, strength is about, you know, knowing when to put something down that doesn't fit. Okay, then we have the Five of Wands clarified by Justice, and this is in the area of your career and your money and your daily life. So there could be either some sort of competition in the workplace, or disagreements, or even just like differing opinions at the moment. And there could be like tensions that come up, or, you know, again, arguments, that type of thing. And Justice is basically saying that like fairness and truth will basically prevail even if these things are going on. So if you've been waiting for maybe an important decision, or a contract, or an interview result, or even just like a financial matter, or something like at your work to be resolved, it's basically saying that there is going to be balance that's restored here. So basically choose your battles wisely. Then we have in your love life and your relationships. Basically this is about, you know, there's a lack of teamwork in some way. So there could be some sort of communication issues, or maybe one or both of you feels you know, unsupported. Maybe you feel like you've been putting in more effort than this other person has. And basically the Lovers is basically showing you that there needs to be, you know, a choice about this relationship that's made, and there needs to be mutual commitment. So I don't know, if you're single, it could just mean that, you know, there's a meaningful connection that's possible between you and this person, but, you know, that you need to be kind of willing to meet each other halfway. And if there's a lack of effort or anything like that, it will become obvious now. Obviously, if you're in a relationship, maybe you're just not on the same page at the moment, and, you know, that you guys need to kind of choose to work together. So let's see, with the Moon and the Empress in the reverse, this is your challenge or your block, right? So your biggest challenge this week is probably either uncertainty, or maybe even self-doubt, or just allowing fear to kind of control you, and not kind of, you know, listening to your intuition, or even hearing it. And the Empress reversed is basically about neglecting yourself. You know, you could be not like putting love into yourself, and maybe doubting your worth as well, and just giving too much energy to others while just forgetting your own needs. So basically, I think the combination of these together would be, you know, not letting insecurity or confusion stop you from actually trusting yourself, you know. and don't allow like your fear to speak louder than your intuition right now. Okay, then we have the Death card in the reverse and the Ace of Cups, and this is your advice from Spirit. So this is the Scorpio energy with Death here, and I feel like it's a message to kind of stop resisting change. So if Death is reversed, it's usually that maybe you're holding onto something because it's familiar, even if it's not serving you anymore. And the Ace of Cups is about, you know, emotional renewal and healing and fresh beginnings, you know. So maybe this will happen once you actually release the past or the old. So it could just be, you know, an outdated mindset. It could actually be a relationship. It could be just the dynamic in the relationship, a situation that you've just outgrown, or just making space for something new, you know, and that will allow some sort of healing. So just let go of what's ended. And I know it's easier said than done, but try to let go of what's ended so that there's like new things or new blessings that can actually enter your life. Okay, and then we have the Page of Pentacles clarified by the King of Swords. So this is your kind of outcome for the week. So by the end of the week, you're probably going to have a lot more clarity, and maybe a bit of a practical mindset. The Page of Pentacles is about new opportunities, maybe learning. It's like progress in your finances. It could be just taking, you know, the first steps towards like a long-term goal. And the King of Swords is about like wisdom and logic and confidence in your decisions, you know. So basically you'll move from some sort of emotional uncertainty to like having some sort of well thought out plan, and you know, making choices based on fear. I mean, based out like out of like strength rather than fear, or like knowing what you want, or, you know, having the truth maybe. It could even be a message is coming through to you about some sort of truth, you know. So that's the end of the week. Then I'm going to do a little love reading here for you. But again, I'm just going to pull all the oracle cards before we get into the messages. So if you want to skip ahead, you absolutely can. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so you have loyalty, trusting, reliability, and believing. Bottom of the deck, you have stress, and it says turbulence, tensions, and arguments. That's your feelings for your person. What about Pisces? Person's feelings for Pisces. We have thinking, missing you, craving, and desiring. And then the bottom of the deck, we have beginnings, try again, new direction, or start over. Okay. Then let's get some romance angels for you, Pisces. Okay, let's see. Pisces, what's going on this week? We have make the effort. Great love is worth taking the steps you're guided to take. What else? We have engagement. Your love life is ascending to a higher level of commitment. Okay. And we have religious factors. Your love life is being influenced by your religious upbringing and spiritual path. And then bottom of the deck, we have it is safe for you to love. Open your heart and give and receive the highest energy of all. Then let's get some messages from your person. This is usually for people in separation, but I'm going to try and interpret it as best as I can. Let's see. Okay, you speak to me through music. I hide behind material things. What else would they say? We need to let each other go. And bottom of the deck, I wish I'd treated you better. Okay. So we have loyalty and stress as your feelings towards your person. So if you're single, maybe you're kind of looking for someone that you can genuinely trust, and like you're not interested in any sort of like superficial connections right now. You just want something or someone that's like loyal and consistent, and someone who like follows through on their words, you know, like their actions match their words. And with the stress card, it's kind of that you either still carrying some sort of tension from previous relationships, you know, that you're worried about type of thing, or that's preventing you from opening up your heart to someone new. You know, if you're in a committed relationship, it could just be that, you know, you're still loyal and committed to your partner, and that you want stability and you're willing to kind of stand by the relationship. But the stress energy is kind of like, you know, maybe there's some sort of disagreements, or even just outside pressures that's affecting the connection itself. But the love is still there, and maybe there's just communication, and you know, that needs to happen, and there's some sort of tension here that you guys need to resolve. If you're in separation, basically, then, you know, even if there is a distance between the two of you, that you still feel like a strong sense of loyalty towards this person, and like there could be a hope or a belief that like things could work out one day. But with the stress card, again, it's about some sort of conflict or misunderstandings or just emotional strain that kind of contributed to the separation, and maybe that's still lingering. Then we have thinking and beginnings for your person's feelings towards you. So if you're single, you know, if you're like kind of connecting with someone new, it's maybe that this person is thinking about you more than what you realize, and maybe there's some sort of curiosity or like a desire to kind of get to know you better. And beginnings, you know, it's kind of points towards the potential of like this fresh chapter between the two of you. Then if you're in a committed relationship, maybe, you know, your partner has you on their mind and is thinking about you in the relationship, and maybe they're kind of wanting more quality time or emotional closeness between the two of you, you know. And the beginnings is about that they want to improve the relationship or reconnect or create kind of some sort of fresh start together. And I suppose if you're in separation, it kind of suggests that your person is definitely missing you, and they kind of crave some sort of reconnection, or, you know, they're kind of reminiscing about the relationship and thinking about the good times. And beginnings is, you know, the idea of maybe trying again or starting over, and, you know, maybe it's crossed their mind at the very least. And you know, that's what they kind of want, even if they're not acting on it. Okay, then we have make the effort, and it says great love is worth taking the steps you guided to take. So basically, if you're single, I think this is about putting yourself out there, and, you know, it's kind of like maybe stepping outside of your comfort zone, whether that's meeting new people or being more open emotionally. You just need to put yourself out there. You know, if you're in a relationship, it's just a reminder that maybe both of you need to continue investing time and affection and communication, you know. And if you're in separation, then if there is some sort of reconciliation that's possible, there's some sort of effort that would need to come from both sides, and that, you know, one person can't carry this relationship alone. Then we have engagement here, and it says your love life is ascending to a high level of commitment. So if you're single, it couldn't, yeah, obviously it wouldn't be literal engagement. It could just mean that a relationship is becoming more serious, or maybe you're meeting someone that has like the long-term potential. If you are with someone, it could literally be that you're getting engaged, or just the next step. So like moving in together, or, you know, deepening your commitment in some way, and just represents like strengthening the emotional bond, you know. If you are in separation, it's kind of saying that maybe if you guys do come back together, that it could have more commitment than what it did before, or like that you guys have a stronger connection together if you do come back together, you know. And then with religious factors, maybe there's just some sort of differences in your religion or culture, or I don't know, just your upbringing, or just different life experiences that could kind of influence the relationship. And, you know, just it's about kind of respecting the differences that you guys have, and maybe like, you know, there's different values or backgrounds, and you guys are just kind of navigating that at the moment, and you need some sort of honest communication and just mutual respect at the moment, you know. That's also probably the same message for people who are in a relationship. And if you're in separation, it could be that those differences that are here could have kind of like caused the separation, or maybe there's still something that needs to be understood so that, you know, you guys can kind of see if reconciliation is possible. And then at the bottom of the deck where it says it's safe for you to love, it's kind of, you know, that there's the reassurance there that, you know, you're kind of healing your heart and allowing yourself to be vulnerable again, and it is possible. So even though, you know, you are a bit cautious, try not to kind of let that fear kind of stop you from like experiencing love, you know. Then some messages from your person. So you speak to me through music. Maybe there's just, you know, someone that there's memories and emotions that pop up when there's certain songs that come on, and you know, maybe they send you music. Maybe music is a shared memory between the two of you, or that you guys enjoy music together, or there's some sort of meaningful moments that happens around music. And again, it's pretty much the same for all of them, you know, that there's some sort of songs that they remind them of you. Then I hide behind material things. So it could be that someone's just focusing on work or their possessions or achievements, and they could just be avoiding emotional vulnerability right now, or not wanting to communicate their emotions or that type of thing. And you know, that's just kind of where they're at the moment. Again, pretty much the same for all groups. We need to let each other go. So basically this is probably, if you're single, is just like, you know, about releasing either old attachments or you know, old problems or fears or something like that you need to release so that you can actually have a relationship. If you're in a relationship, it doesn't usually mean like the ending of the relationship itself. It can usually just mean just letting go of resentment or unhealthy patterns, you know, unrealistic expectations, or even just some sort of past hurts. And if you're in separation, it's kind of maybe saying that there's some sort of healing that's required to kind of release the attachment, and you know, trying to get yourself to a point of freedom in your emotions, and that will help you move forward or get back together. It's like time to release this, you know. And then at the bottom of the deck with the I wish I had treated you better, you know, if you're single and you're kind of healing from a past relationship, it kind of could mean that there's some sort of regret that someone from your past would feel like that's something that they treated you badly. If you're in a relationship, it could mean that maybe your person's kind of recognizing that they've fallen short and they want to do better, you know, through their actions rather than their words. And in separation, it's definitely just some sort of regret there, that they wish they had put in more effort, or that they wish that they had told you that they love you, or, you know, given you the cuddles that you need, or whatever it is, you know, they wish that they gave that to you. So Pisces, that is what I have for you this week. I hope you found a message that helped, and I will see you guys again soon. Take care.